Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. All right, let's get you guys pulled up on my other screen so I can see your comments. Yippee! There we go. Oh, gotta mute that sucker. All right, there we are. Happy Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all you mommies out there. I'm gonna get in right to the dirty today. We're going to have fun experimenting with this beautiful layered stencil. This is Layered Floral Hello by Spellbinders, and it contains 4 separate layers to the stencil, and it also has the positive piece to fit over top of the hello. So I think I might bring in a dark colored cardstock here. See what I can kind of pull out to show you the stencil just a little bit better. Okay. So there's 4 layers, and I thought I had these in the right order. They are labeled in the corners according to how you should do them. So they're etched right down in the corner. Okay. So the first one is kind of like the base piece, so the widest piece for the most part. It goes first. Hi, Beth. And then there is kind of narrowing down that hello font and more details on the flowers and leaves. And then you get even smaller with the more detail, like the inner part of the hello and the inner part, or the even more detailed part of those beautiful flowers and leaves. And then this is kind of like the accent to make it look 3-dimensional as part of the hello. And then there's a few little tiny little details for the background. So this is the stencil set we are going to use today. So let's remove this out of the way. And I figured I would show you what the white looked like, but we're going to try something a little different. Let's try some colored cardstock for a different look. All right, so let's get started on that, and I'll show you this piece too. We're not going to be using this today, but you could use this to mask off that word hello if you wanted to create a negative and do, say, a background. Little bit of inking over top, or you wanted to do a specific layer where part of the hello you don't want actually inked, so you could use that. Okay, setting this aside, set that little fella aside. Now I'm going to use exactly the same colors that I did on my original white version. So we have a squeezed lemonade, carved pumpkin, festive berries. We're going to use mowed lawn, peeled paint, and a little touch of milled lavender. And these are all distress oxides. Make sure we get them on the screen here. So a distress oxide has more like a pigment ink because it's thicker. It's more opaque than a regular ink. So this will work beautifully on some colored cardstocks. So we've got our white. Let's try using a more natural color. Let's see what this one does. Okay, now this stencil is actually 4.5 by 6. So I've cut all of my pieces to 4.5 by 6 because it just makes it so much easier to line everything up. And I suggest you do this for this size. That way you can always trim it down. Always trim it down to an A2 size, or you could mat it and leave it at this size, whatever kind of floats your boat. But I thought I would leave it there today. Okay, so first things first, let's attach our cardstock down to our table just so it doesn't move a lot. Hello, Terry. Hi, Anita. Thanks, ladies, for joining me. Happy Mother's Day. Okay, so this is our very first part of our 4-part stencil. And again, I have cut this paper to 4 1/4 by 6 because it's just going to make lining things up a lot easier. Okay, let's start with our lightest. Okay, squeezed lemonade. Now, I highly suggest that when you use oxides, that you have separate brushes for oxides. Because they are a different kind of ink, I suggest that you have a colored set for oxides versus your other inks, okay? Just because different formulation, you don't want to contaminate your other inks. No matter how hard you try, you're never going to get the oxide ink stuff out of here. So I'm just going to pull in, let's grab a piece of paper. Hang on one second. Just off to the side here. Making sure I got enough ink on my little brushes. Yeah, so I highly recommend that you have separate brushes for this. Now, because our oxides are a little bit more pigmented, this is going to show up a little bit better than, say, your regular good old ink. And if you want a little bit more ink through your stencil, blot it or dab it up and down. I mean, you can get an initial layer of ink down in there, but it always helps to go in different directions so it gets all of those nooks and crannies in your stencil. You can always do that. Okay. And then if you dab up and down, you also get into those nooks and crannies and add more ink. So we want it a little bit more opaque, so we're going to add that dabbity dab dab. I'm going over those leaves too, because it just makes everything uniform. And there we go. And before we change out our stencil, we're going to go into our mode lawn. Okay. Now, I'm going to use a finger dauber for this one. And the reasoning is... One second while I grab one here. I'm thinking this one might have one. Because there are so many little areas harder to get into, the surface area of a little dabber is just going to work a little bit better for this. You could use a makeup sponge too, or even a Q-tip would work. Or we have, you know what? I'll show you this too. Sometimes you can get little wiener brushes. Oh, let's try this one. It's cute. It's cute. Hi Denise. Terry asks, do you know if Scrap and Stamp is getting picket fence paper pouncers? I can ask Rhea for you and get back to you for sure. Okay, so we're going to go into all those little leaf structures and stem structures. Ooh, I like this brush. And get our little mowed lawn in there. I think this is green. You can always go back to the image on your packaging too. If you don't know it's green, go to the package image. Okay, I know this is green. Get right into those little teeny sections, and this way you're less likely to get it not in those areas where you don't want it. I have no idea if this is green or not. Haha. Okay, there, perfect. All right, isn't it cute? It's tiny. I'll get back to you, Terry, about that one for sure. Okay, let's put this over to the side. Okay, next one. Cover up that little fella before I put my hand in it. Okay, let's line this one up with our corner, because I'm using the left hand corner to make sure that everything's lined up. There we go. Okay, so next we're going in with our carved pumpkin. And again, I just have a orange brush for doing this, and we're going over everything, and we're going to try and stay away from those leaves this time. This brush is, you know, medium chunkiness, so we'll try our best. Try and keep it where we want just the orange stuff. But if it happens to overlap, oh Oh well. The handmade card, right? Okay. Did you guys do anything special for Mother's Day at all today? I just took it easy. Typically, I don't get anything for Mother's Day, so yeah. Actually, I can't even remember the last time. The last gift I remember getting, I think my son was in grade maybe 3. And it was this tiny little African violet. And I had it for very, very many years. I kept it alive. Okay, so there is our beloved carved pumpkin. Okay, I'm just keep moving my tape. See, I did get a little bit there, but again, that's okay. And a little bit on the leaves, not worried about it. Okay, so we're still getting color. This is good. Number 3. 1, 2, 3. Oops. Just trying to make sure everything's lined up here properly. And this is one of those reasons why I cut that paper to be exactly the same size. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Hang on. Halt. Put the brakes on. Let's go back to our orange layer, because I forgot to put the green parts of the greenery on it. So I got to line it back up again. Hang on. Hang on. Oh, it's upside down. That's brilliant. Okay, lining it up again, because we got to go in. There's like a leaf detail in there. So, Anita says I'm actually in Toronto on vacation. Ooh. We're taking a break from sightseeing and I'm watching you. Oh, thanks, Anita. So what have you done in Toronto? I went to college in Toronto, so I'm familiar with a lot of, especially downtown, because I actually lived downtown, believe it or not. I mean, this was almost 30 years ago. I was a college student at George Brown College down there, taking culinary. Okay, so there we go. Now we've got our leaves done. It was funny because I did not initially live in Toronto when I first started going to school there. And I used to go in via train, which is basically kind of like your Amtrak if you're in the US. And I used to go into Toronto that way. And I used to walk underground from the train station almost all the way to school, which was very cool. Okay, we're going to Festive Berries. So I got used to doing a lot of stuff underground. Okay, Festive Berries. Hi, Denise. NBA game. There you go. I know, these stencils are gorgeous. There's a few of them that have been released for this. Okay, Festive Berries. Let's get this sucker down. As far as I know, there's no green layers on this one, so we don't have to be extra careful. These are very, very small. I suggest you pounce definitely through those dots, because you're just going to get more ink down. Okay. Anything that's small, I suggest you pounce instead of doing circles. Sometimes you can get hung up on some of the details too. So be very careful with your very ornate stencils. And also be careful if you have a lot of areas that aren't supported within the design. Like sometimes you might get, let's say, a plaid where there's very, very thin pieces to the stencil. Be very, very careful. And then with that, I highly suggest that you use a pixie spray. So this is like a light tack repositionable spray. You just apply this to the back of your stencil. Give it a couple of seconds just to dry. It doesn't fully dry, it just becomes tacky. And then use your stencil. Like it's a kind of a must for stencils like that have that kind of detail. Okay. All right, peeling. Oh, look at that. look at the layers on this. Love it. Okay, and our last and final layer is kind of like those itty bitty teeny tiny details. And it kind of creates that three-dimensional look to that whole, the hello part. And we're going to use milled lavender for this. So itty bitty bit of color. Okay. Okay. And this has a lot of white base to it. So this should show up pretty good on this. There's even some itty bitty like flower centers on this layer. They're so cute. And the distress oxides work really well in this because you are actually layering upon layer with this design. So the distress, because it's opaque, is going to go right over top of those layers. Pretty good. It's not perfect, but I mean, it's a handmade card. Ta-da! Again, tappity tap tap. Sorry, this is annoying, but this is the way it works the best, right? And then just make sure that you've got enough of that ink in there. Tappity tap tap done. Oh, Denise asks, once you put the spray on your stencil, how do you store them? Okay, some of the time, I literally just put them back in their plastic packaging. Like in this case, if I were to do it to these ones, I literally stick them all together and put them back in their packaging. The stick will last for a couple of times, and then you can go and wash them off. A little bit of soapy water. I even take like a soft nail brush and scrub a little bit of the back, and you can take that sticky off, but be very, very gentle because you don't want to tear your design. But it is possible to wash it off if you wish to. A lot of times I don't. I just put it back in its packaging because I'm going to use it again anyway, so why would I wash it off? But it's completely up to you. Okay, so here is our beautiful craft paper. And again, the colors are not going to be as vivid as the white. Let's bring in the white. But it makes such a different design, right? It's just a little softer and subtler. Okay, let's try another kind of paper. Okay, we're setting this one to the side to dry. Let's try, believe it or not, let's try vellum. Let's see what we can do with vellum. Now this one is going to be very hard to see as we do this. I wonder if I slip. You know what? I'm going to slip another piece of our craft underneath it, just so you can kind of see the outline of where we're working with this. Just be easier for you guys to see it too. Okay, and you're going to back it with something anyway. So, okay, first of all, I am going to go, I have my little, I think this is an 8x8 pan, either 8x8 or 9x9. And it's just got some warm water and just a teeny tiny drop of soap in it. We're just going to wash this off. Just because I don't want to contaminate my yellow with that green. Oh, you could blow bubbles with it. Okay. And then I just bring in, and I've got water on my vellum. That's fantastic. I bring in an old tea towel. And just pat it dry. The other ones won't be as bad. Oh, we do have one more that needs to be done. That's right, because we do have a couple with 2 colors on them. I will wipe them off. And again, don't worry about mixing up your stencils because they are etched in one corner. You just have to find the etched corner and you'll know that it's the correct side to use, and you can just match them up by eye. Okay, so that one's done. Got one more to do. This is another trick because I don't have like a sink or anything down here. So instead of running upstairs to do this, especially during a live, Just a quick and easy way to clean. You can also leave them in there too, like just drop them in if you're going to go on to something else. Especially if you're using something like really, really sticky. Like we've talked about using glitter paste and stuff like that. You don't want to leave them on your stencils. Like, do not do that. So just bring yourself down a little pan of water that your stencils can be dropped into. Yeah, they're pretty on the craft paper too, aren't they? They're a little more subtle, but that's okay. Sometimes you just don't want like a super, super bright and card. And this is a good way to try it. Okay, so let's try our vellum. Okay, making sure that that's our purple layer. Got our red layer, and here's our first layer. Okay. Whee! Okay, putting down our first layer first. Alright. So this is our yellow. So we're going to go back to our Distress Oxide Squeezed Lemon. You're welcome, Denise. Okay, so I am going to put a yellow base even under those greenery pieces, just like we did with the other. That way it'll be uniform, and of course yellow and green just makes lighter green. So I'm not worried about that. We get to use our teeny tiny brush again. Now, with vellum, your surface is a lot slipperier. So just be aware you don't want to slide your stencils too much over the surface, because your ink is going to stay wetter longer on the vellum. Okay, so just be careful. Try and peel your stencil up without getting it through that wet ink. Now, you could definitely dry it between layers, but again, vellum is very touchy. Very, very touchy. So you'll have to be, hold your heat gun far away, do it for a long time, sweep it across, because it warps. It warps quickly. Okay, mowed lawn. Again, we're going to go into our little teeny tiny leaves and any greenery that we have. Oh, this is such a cute little brush. Okay. Again, try a makeup sponge, try Q-tips. They will all work, because you could cut down a makeup sponge, right? You can make it like pointed almost for appliquing any areas. Wow, I cannot talk today because that's not the word I was looking for. Okay. All right, so I can still tell this is still quite, oh, almost forgot these little fellas. This ink is still quite wet on that vellum. Okay, there's our BB one done. Okay, I can't wait to see the reveal in this. Woo! Oh, that looks pretty good. That's cool. All right, I'm going to stick that right in the water right away. Okay, second one. There are quite a few designs with this quadruple layered stencil that Spellbinders has released. So make sure you check out the store, because there's a few that have come in. Okay, so this is our carved pumpkin. I'm gonna try my best not to get into those green areas. Try. If I go up and down, I can kind of control where the edge of the brush is. Holy jeez. Going up and down. Get the flower. Try and go around the edges when you pull up ink, like around your ink pad too, not just the center. That will help kind of keep the levels of ink in your ink pad where you kind of need them. Okay, we got a cute little bloom in here. not quite dinner time here. It is like 25 after 3 where I live. Have you guys had dinner yet? Did you do anything special with your family? I hope if you have kids that they spoiled you. Oh, I missed a little bloom over here, so I'm going back. Just make sure I get that baby in there. And I think we're pretty good with the carved pumpkin. Okay, we need to finish off the leaf detail. So let's bring in our peeled paint, which is a little bit darker green. These are just kind of like the accents on those greenery pieces. And this brush works perfectly. It's so cute. There's lots of brushes like this on the market too. Just look for a detailed brush. I'll go and see if I can find one in the store and put a link up when I'm done too. It'll be in the comments section. It'll come up with a little picture. So it's easy to kind of identify in the comment section. Okay, let's lift this puppy up. Ooh, another layer. Oh, that's looking good. Okay, into the water. Okay, remember I didn't clean this one because there was no alternate color on it. So I didn't feel the need. We're still using the same colors because I wanted to show you how different they look on different papers. Okay. Going with Festive Berries. This is such a lovely red. With a pinky red. And of course there's no greenery to worry about on this one. So we're just going hog heavy with the pink. I'm going back to pick up more ink every once in a while because it does. It's just like paint, it thins out, right? It'll apply more to your brush. Oh, we get a little baby flower there. So pretty. I know this is annoying, kind of a tappity tap, but it works way better than doing the swirly swirl. And you get less underneath your, less risk of the pigment getting underneath those edges too if you do a dab dab. Another reason why to go dab dab. Isn't it pretty, Denise? Okay. Careful. Oh, another layer. Beautiful. Okay, set that one aside. I'm just giving a little wave to see if I can get it to dry just a tinkle because I don't want to get it on the back of my stencil and have it smear. Because we put so much work into this. This is going to be really neat to see what the effect is. Remember, this is vellum. Okay, so carefully putting this one on. Trying my best not to shift it once it's there. So careful. Okay, holding it down and going in with the middle lavender. Okay. Okay. And this one, I'm very curious as to how opaque this is going to look on that vellum. There we go. It's actually looking pretty good. I'm quite surprised. Again, this is formulated to be a little thicker. It's not, it's got pigments in it, just like paint does. So it's going to go on more opaque. And again, it's quite water reactive, just like a lot of inks are. It's really fun to work with if you've never worked with the oxides. I highly recommend them. They're my second choice of inks. The palette is fantabulous. And I think they're very economical and great investment to your stash. Okay. All right, that's number 4. All right, let's peel this off and let me show you what this looks like close up. Actually, I really, really like this one. This one came out extremely well. Okay, we're going to do it with underneath the craft first. So that's with a craft base. And then I'm going to take it off and just, if I can peel the layers off. Oh, that's kind of neat too. You know what you could do to keep it translucent, holy, can't talk again. You could put this on a vellum-based card. You'd have to be very careful with your adhesive. That's the only thing. This would be very, very cool. Backed with vellum so the light completely goes through it. You might have to put like a band of something at the top and bottom to adhere it to your see-through card. But I think that would be very, very cool. And I'm surprised that milled lavender is quite opaque. Yeah, definitely cool. And of course you could back it with all kinds of different colors of paper. Let me see. Let's pull a couple. I'm just going to pull some random colors to see. Will the inks dry in the vellum? Yes, they will. You just have to give them, I'd give them a couple of hours and just see. They will dry, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Okay, let's bring in this hot pink. So these are all Prism Studio cardstocks. Oh, hot pink. Yeah, baby. That's kind of cool. I'm curious the blue. Oh, even that's kind of fun. We got green. Oh, that's kind of pretty too. Green backer. I only have like a slight piece of the buttercup. But oh, that's pretty. Even with the yellow ink, like that squeezed lemonade, you can still see that yellow. That's really pretty. What else would we put? Oh, let's try maybe I wonder if the lavender would show up on the wisteria color. Oh, even that's pretty too. So lots of possibilities with the vellum, just to back it. Like, super cool. Yeah. And yes, it will eventually dry. You just have to give it a few minutes. So lay it somewhere flat and just let it air dry. Because, I mean, the green, that dark green, the peel paint is still a little bit wet. And that lavender is still a little bit wet. But the yellow and the orange is definitely dry. You don't want to touch it, though. Don't touch it whatever you can. Yeah, so it's, oh, black? Okay, 1 second. Black. There we go. I don't know if I got one in this stash or not. Hang on a second. Let me find the black. I think there's one right here. That's a dark brown. Dark brown, black. There. Aha. All right, let's see if this pops. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Oh, that's kind of neat, too. Yeah, wonder what the navy would look like. Let's bring in like a fairly dark blue. Oh, that's pretty too. Yeah, definitely a darker cardstock would really set it off because it really makes it opaque looking. Yeah, oh, you could have lots of fun with that. You could even, you know what? Shall we try some black cardstock and do one on black? And see what it actually turns out. How about that? Okay, let me just cut off a piece here. Excuse my little mess here as we... Okay, I'm going to set this off to the side where I'm not going to bump it. Okay, so I need a 4.5 by 4.5 by 6. Remember, I cut it to the size of the stencil because it's just way easier. Okay. By 6. Let's try a black one. Yeah. Because you never know what colors do on a shade like this, right? Okay, I'm going to put this aside and let's put this one down on the work surface. All right, are you ready? Okay. I'm just going to wash these in my little water tray. Fingertips work really well. And of course this ink is still quite wet. And because I pressed it to the other one, I'm just going to wipe off the back of that one. Okay. Drain the excess water. My fingertips are super wet. Hang on, hang on. Let's lay down the towel. I don't even know where this towel came from. Do you know you always find stuff in your cupboards and go, I don't know where the heck that came from? I think my mother must have gotten this for Christmas because it's got a snowflake on it. Because it wouldn't be something I would buy for myself. So, and I never worry about staining this sucker. Okay, I'm just doing an extra better job on that one. Can you hear the choo-choo? Okay, there we go. There's our first two. Okay, let's start with this little puppy. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, let's line up our little bottom left-hand corner because that's the one we decided we're going to use. Okay, little baby, stay there. Okay, starting with our squeeze lemonade. Okay, so raise your hand in the comment section if you've never used Distress Oxides. I'm curious. I'm very curious if you've never tried them. Even if you've tried them at like your friend's house or a crop. Have you ever tried Distress Oxides? Now the other thing that you could do, because this is so dark, you could use a white pigment ink first and put down a white layer. What it does is, you'd have to dry it in between though, because you don't want to contaminate your inks. But what it does is it kind of puts down that white opaque layer first, so it'll make everything a bit brighter as you layer things on top. Now, because this stencil has different pieces on it though, like remember, like there's blooms that kind of show up in these gaps. Not everything is going to have a white backer. That's the only drawback, is that you might have to do a white layer every time you change your stencil. So, something worth trying though, because what it'll do is it'll punch up the color that you add on top of whatever you're doing. Okay, I think we're pretty even here. Just trying to make sure everything looks the same opacity. Okay. Okay, next we would need to bring in our Mode Lone and our teeny weeny brush. Okay. Just in our leafy and greenery parts. Dabbity dab dab. I'm very curious as to how this is going to look when we pull it up, even just after this first one. I'm too excited. Little baby brush. Okay. Okay, there we go. Mr. Mode Lawn, you are done. Very careful. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good opacity. Okay. Number 2. I always love the end reveal, don't you? It's like, you never know until you've got all those layers, really, what your final product is going to look like, especially when you change up the paper color. Okay, orange. Orange, orange. Carved pumpkin, here we come. Okay, this time I'm going to try and avoid those greenery parts. These almost look like leaves. Those little sections there. Trying to get my little brush into the right spots. Go in and do the hello part. Now the other thing too, when you're using this stencil, you're going to have to know how your inks react to one another. Because remember, as we build up that word hello, you're going over top of other inks, right? Like you can see the yellow underneath. So those inks, when you cross over each other, are gonna have to work together and not make mud. So if you're looking at the color wheel, if you combine the colors that are completely across on the color wheel, so actually like red and green are what they call complementary colors, so they're across from one another on the color wheel. If you mix those together, you create brown. Yeah, it's not pretty. So just be aware, if your inks are going to blend, that they don't make ugly colors. Oops, I forgot we're going to peeled paint first. Hang on. Okay. Going into those greenery details. So don't make it brown, because you might not like it. So you may have to experiment a few times with your color passes. Okay. All right, there we go. Accents of the green. Okay, we have 2 more stencils and then we're done. Okay, I'm throwing that one in the water. Okay, we're looking pretty good. That yellow isn't as opaque, but that's okay. Okay, next stencil. And this is why we do this. You know, you do it to learn. Sometimes it is really and truly about experimenting, because you never know what your end product is going to be. And if you don't like it, it's just paper. Just throw it in the garbage. Or just, you know, chalk it up to being, you know, an artist and you're experimenting. I don't know, use the back of it for something else. Make it pretty on the other side. Okay. And of course, the more you layer too, the better, because the opaqueness is just going to layer up. So especially like in those hello details, we should be able to see more opaqueness because we've layered on already, in this area especially, 3 inks. Just got that yellow and the orange below. So that will help for sure in being able to see the colors. Okay, just making double sure we got everything. Okay, one last layer. I'm very curious as to the lavender. Oh, even that's still pretty. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Okay, where did I put the lavender one? Okay. Alright, last layer for our black. Just lining, just trying to be careful and line stuff up here. Okay, final color. Okay. Okay, I think we're pretty square up here in our design. Oh, this is really gonna pop, I think. There is lots of white pigments in this to make it very, very, very bright. So this should look really cool once we're done. And it kind of adds shading in between the gaps in the letters, like the hole in the E and the two between the 2 L's. So this should look really cool. Almost done, almost done. I'm not sure if I got those or not. Okay, all right. So final reveal. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Trying not to shift it. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Ooh, that's cool. Pull it up and give you a close-up here. So this is the black, and it came out pretty cool. Very, very cool. I'm surprised at how good that came out on such a dark paper. Yeah. Very cool. What do you guys think? Would you try it on black? Okay, so let's bring in our examples here. We have our black cardstock. We have our see-through vellum. There's my white original. And, oh, it's hiding. Hang on. And our craft paper. So, yeah. 4 different options. And I just wanted to show you how different they look. All using exactly the same colors in different cardstocks or different mediums. Of course, this will not, Distress Oxides will not stick to translucent or acetate, so you can't really try it on them. But you could definitely try embossing paste or something like that with this on a vellum. It would look really cool. Just like we experimented with glitter paste. I think the glitter paste would make that, like, you could do it as the milled lavender layer. I think it would look really pretty as that final accent. But yeah, see how things change? It's amazing. Yeah, the vellum is kind of my favorite too, actually. I was surprised how well that came out. So, and I think it's pretty dry. It's pretty dry now already. Like, I don't see any wetness on it at all now. Yeah, it didn't take that long to dry. So there you go. You could definitely do this as a mass production type card too, because the stencils are so easy to do. You have all your card bases cut and then just do all of your yellow on your cards, or do at least that layer, the yellow and the light green, and do all of that and then start on the next layer. So this would be really fun for doing multiple cards. Like, this would be great for, I think there's a thank you or thanks version. Would make a really nice thank you card for like a baby shower or even a wedding. I think this would be really fun. Yes, you could definitely use a heat gun. Definitely on the paper versions. I don't recommend it on the vellum. Vellum is very touchy, and it likes to crinkle and warp. So I'd recommend just air drying this just to get your best product. The other ones, definitely you could use your hot gun for sure. But again, you get to have fun. I wanted to show you this. So I used my large brush when doing the greenery, and see how it snuck into the design, because remember, it's yellow and that bright green, so it snuck into some of the areas. But you know what? I don't hate it. It's kind of pretty, the way it kind of went into some of those sections. So even if you don't have a small brush, still kind of cool. Yeah, lots of fun. So thanks for joining me today, guys. I hope you learned something. Definitely give your oxides a try on different papers, because you never know what kind of results you're going to get. I totally love that vellum. Like, absolutely love that vellum. Yeah. And I think, yes, Denise said that I've stamped on vellum before. It didn't dry, and she thinks she used Memento ink, and I've done the same thing, and it smeared. Yeah, even the next day. So, yes. So, you just have to be careful. Now, I can recommend you might want to do this. So, if you have a larger piece of vellum, you could tape it down on the edges very carefully, and then just take your heat gun. And sometimes you can get heat guns with different settings too, so you could try it on a lower setting. But put it on something rigid and make sure you're doing passes and not heating up one area too much at one time. Okay, so be deliberate in the way that you dry it and try it that way. And again, some inks do not work well on vellum. I suggest that you try Stays On. So StazOn is a brand of ink. It's a solvent-based ink. So it's a little different than your average ink, and this stuff you can stamp on acetate with and vellum, and you have a very short dry time. It will actually stick and stay. So try that for sure if you want to do some vellum. This comes in many different colors. There's not a huge array of colors, but it does come in colored ink. I tend to use my jet black the most. So I recommend that if you want to do some acetate stuff. Yeah. Or you emboss it. So you use a sticky ink and you use a colored embossing. So if you want to, say, make a black outline with a stamp your image using Versamark, the sticky ink, and then emboss it. And just, again, be very careful with your embossing gun. That's another way so that your ink is going to be definitely not wet. Yeah. Would you use the Distress Oxide on photo paper? Probably not, because it needs some texture to grab. So your photo paper is very, very slippery and has very little texture to it. So I would imagine it would stay wet for quite a long time, if not maybe never dry. So photo paper, probably a no-go. Yeah. Again, I would go and look at some kind of solvent ink for that. So again, I'd go back to the StazOn for your photo paper for sure. Yes, you could try with a fixative. So Denise says you could probably apply a very light spray with a fixative on vellum if it didn't dry totally. Yeah. So what she's saying is you put a coat, almost like a thin plastic, basically is what a fixative is. And you just basically put a thin coat over it, and what it does is it makes it not totally waterproof, but it makes it slicker so that you have something over top of that ink so you're not going to smear it. So that's another good tip, Denise. Yeah, you could definitely try it. So don't do it on a finished product, but try it off to the side first and just see what you get by adding that fixative. But you could definitely try that for sure. Yeah, lots of different possibilities. Try different inks on different surfaces because you never know what'll happen. For instance, if you use it on traditional watercolor paper, lots of dimples and stuff. It's very, very textured, so you'd have to be very thick with your ink and very deliberate with your pouncing to try and get it into those divots. So this is what today was all about, is just experimenting with one ink and different surfaces. Because they're exactly the same inks. I didn't change a darn thing, but look how different they came out. So lots of possibilities. And everybody has lots of cardstock that you want to use. So yeah. Thanks for joining me today, guys. If you, I'm going to do some stuff with the Simon Hurley stamping foam on Tuesday. So don't forget to check me out on Tuesday or check out the replay. We're going to have some fun with that. And I will see you guys again soon. Happy Mother's Day and have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, guys.